All right, here for another tournament. So Golf Clash has announced the new tournament. It's the City of Light. It's going to start on Monday, September 16th, and it's going to be using the Parc de Paris holes. Now this is exactly in the same order that the Parc de Paris holes are in, and this is exactly the same tournament as the Metro Open. And there was a little bit of a glitch during the Metro Open. They had a problem, and there's a bunch of people that qualified. They did an upgrade in the middle of the week, and there's a bunch of people that qualified on that day that then were locked out of the tournament. So I've got a practice round and a qualifying round on it, and then after that, there was a bunch of us that were locked out. A lot of people. So some of these holes are also in the second anniversary, but there's only a few of them. But these were all from the Metro Open. So let's go to, I put up in YouTube, if you go into library and you put recently added, there's going to be a Golf Clash City Lights tournament rookie walkthrough. I'll put this video in there as well, and then I've got all 9 holes now. The Metro Open ones are all going to be in order, but I've put in a couple of the Skyline Cup. There's also a couple of these that were on the Skyline Cup, so if you just watch them through, those are the 9 holes in the right order. So let's go to Golf Clash Notebook and check out the Parc de Paris holes. Hole number 1 is a par 4. So there's three ways that you can come at this. Option number 1, lower level clubs, come right out here. You're going to be taking a long iron to come in. This green is very difficult, where you're almost like coming down the hill like this, and so where your landing spot's right here, so the ball guide looks like it's going past the hole, and here's the flagpole, and your ball guide looks like it's coming here, but when it hits, it slides to a stop, and if you put it right at the cup, it may end up being a little bit short because it loses a lot of speed as it hits right there. So this from out here with the long iron is just going to be one of those things you're going to have to practice. If this is your pony shot, you're coming out into here, and you can pretty much use any ball in your bag if you're coming out into here. The second way to go at it is to land out here and try and get your ball to stop up in here, and this is going to be a short iron shot. And so, these are going to be on that same track. And this one right here, you're going to have to pick the ball that's appropriate for the club that you want. Now, this shot right here is, in my opinion, if you're doing the risk versus reward, it's not that you can't get out here fairly easily, but this is a super easy shot. If you're going to go for this middle shot, in my opinion, there's another shot that you can take where you try and come out here with a 3 or a 4 power ball. And it's going to take a little bit of overpower, and it carries farther here. So the last couple tournaments that we've had wind that was blowing in some kind of a forward moving direction. We've had a tailwind, and it puts us back a little bit, but it actually carries a little bit farther into this hole than the ball guide looks like it's going to. And trying to get it to come around and come towards the hole, so you're on a 1 making a putt or a short chip. Now if you use a 4 power ball, you can come around the edge here and kind of cruise around. I've ended up where I've overshot out into these trees, and it can be tricky, and it's going to be one of those things you're going to have to practice it to try and get up here in 1. So if you catch this hole in practice, you need to pop out, and you want to do this shot, you're going to need to pop out a big ball. Now you can get it done with a power 3 ball, and I was using a Titan because the wind was blowing in a forward direction, and I was able to use that wind. If you're in practice and you get any kind of a headwind or any kind of a forward moving wind, the 3 power ball may or may not work. And it's going to be really difficult because you don't really want to waste a 4 power ball trying it with headwind, because you're not going to learn anything until we find out what kind of wind the tournament's in. So if you're practicing and you have any kind of wind pushing you forward, any kind of wind pushing you forward, I'd practice the shot with a 3 power ball just so that you could get used to it. If there's any kind of a headwind, you're not going to learn anything really from that shot. So it's either going over here. If you're in one-on-one play and you had any kind of a headwind, this shot over here is definitely the safer bet. So we got long iron, short iron, try and get on the green. I'm going to definitely be trying to get up on the green. And anytime we have these par 4s where we start to turn them off with a par 4, it's really important that we got to go for the eagle. You know, I mean, the worst thing that can happen to you out in this area is that you get caught up in these trees, or you get caught behind one of these two trees, where now you have a very difficult time even just trying to get on the green so that you can make a putt and get your birdie and move on to the next hole. So as long as you can stay out of the trees, especially these trees in the back. I mean, if you overhit it and you really get in those trees in the back, you're in trouble. I have tried to take this shot where I'm from the tee box. Let me go. Here's the tee box. From the tee box coming through this area, you've got a slight little gap between these trees. The ball is clearing these trees. If you've got max overpower, it is clearing these trees. I have never clipped these trees and had a problem out here, but you are right there along that line. If you hit it straight, it will end up straight out here, and you'll just end up in this. You need to have a little bit of curl on it to bring it back towards the hole. But if you put too much curl on it, you could end up clipping these trees. So my normal response to that would be to move it out this direction to give me more distance here, so that when I apply the curl, I have more room for that curl to become effective. But there's only so far you can go out here if you've got a 3-power ball and still be able to get out in the fairway. I think the solution that we had, and I don't have videos for those, is we ended up coming here with a 4-power ball so that we could easily get over. And then it's just going to be on your clubs a combination of, you know, where are we at as far as curl, top spin. You got to put enough top spin so that if you get caught up in this rough, you can blow through it and end up out here on the fairway. Anywhere out here on the fairway on the green side is a win. You still got some work to do, but you know, that's much better than having to take a short iron or a long iron shot. If you've got lower developed clubs, really this shot right here is the way. As difficult as it is to get out here and to stop yourself from rolling off into the rough or getting caught up in this sand or this sand or this sand, as difficult as this shot is, if I'm going to put in the effort to learn how to do this shot, I'm going to work on this shot over here. All right, that was hole number 1 of the City Lights tournament. Let's go to hole number 2. All right, we're on hole number 2. So hole number 2, par 3. Now, with any of these par 3s, I like to go right at them. Now, you may have, if you've got lower developed stuff, you may have a better shot of getting a hole-in-one if you start off over here and you're coming across. But I'm not really interested in putting this rough, this sand, and this rough into play when I can start off on this side and try and come towards the hole. Now, if you've got a club, if you've got lower developed clubs, but you got a club that has some curl to it, you could start off back in here and try and curl it back over. I'm going to try and land in this area here with a Guardian and a Katana, and I'm using a Katana because of the 3 side spin to try and bring the ball right up to the hole and go right at it. Now, what's difficult here is it's difficult to make this transition. So if I remember correctly, I'm down in this area, I'm wedging my rings down in this area, I'm 3 rings off down in this area, my ball guide's kind of going like this. So I'm having to apply curl, and anytime you add the word curl into any shot setup, your chances of getting that shot in the hole have been diminished. I may try and get where I'm only a couple rings off down in this area, and that'll bring me just a little bit closer towards the hole so that I'm not so much going towards the sand, and then it's going to be a matter of trying to establish how much curl to put on there so that we can get the ball to stop at the hole. It's very close here, but this is not from this spot right here. If you're using backspin, my chances of getting hole-in-one are probably diminished because, number one, I've got the word curl in my shot, and backspin is never, you know, you can always be close with backspin. It's like, oh, I'm always right there. But, you know, getting it in the hole with backspin is sometimes a little difficult. But my whole goal here is to get a 100% guaranteed birdie. I really want to get a birdie here, and I don't want to dink around with taking any risks here of getting in any of this trouble areas. And I want to eliminate those by just staying on the green. This is going to be one of those holes that you're going to have to work it out based off your club. The clubs that you have in your bag and the balls you have available. You can go, hey, this is my spot, or no, this is my spot, or this is my spot, or this is my spot, and you just work that shot. So with whatever clubs you have and whatever ball you decide that you want to bring, And this is one of those holes that you can come at it with a lower developed ball, especially if you're hitting from this side over here, so that you can save those other balls for other holes, those bigger balls, or you could save that katana for another hole. But this is one of those holes that you're going to have to find the spot. So I could tell you, hey, the best way to come at it is to be right in this area, but that may be the best way with my clubs. That might not be the best way with your clubs. And I may have to hit over here with my lower level account, and your account's kind of in between, and you can hit from here or here or different areas. So these par threes, really, it's all based on what you have in your bag. But the goal here is, I don't think that this is a super high percentage hole-in-one type par three. And anytime that you have that type of hole, if you can almost guarantee yourself a birdie with a shot at hole-in-one, that to me is a win. So I'm going to be coming at it right at it over here with a Guardian and a Katana. All right, hole number 3. All right, this par 5 right here is one of my favorite par 5s in the game. I've hit a ton of albatrosses on this hole, and if you watch my videos on a regular basis, I am very, very spot oriented. So, you know, I don't want to end up out in this area. I want to end up right there. 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 I want to end up in the same spot so that I can practice this next shot and practice this next shot and practice this next shot and dial that shot in. I don't want to be here one time and here one time and here one time and here one time and here one time. I don't want to be in multiple different areas. I want to try and tighten up my landing zone so that I can work on that next shot and work on that next shot. So the way I'm going to do it, in the tournaments that we've had this hole so far, we've had some type of a forward moving wind. We haven't had any kind of a headwind. You know, if you draw the line here, anything, it doesn't even matter if it was going like this. We haven't had any type of forward moving or headwind. We've had tailwind of some type on this hole. So there's several different ways that you can hit this. What I see a lot of people do is they'll hit from over here, and if you're hitting from over here, you know, you could use a big topper and try and get a lot of run out. But what happens is your first bounce is right here, and your second bounce is in the narrowest. I mean, look at all of the fairway that's on this course, and the narrowest part of the fairway is right here. And so if you're hitting from here, your second bounce is in that narrowest part of the fairway. So you're going to hit here, even if you hit a great to the left or the right, you'll probably make this. But where you end up as far as trajectory when you get to the other side, you know, you hit a great to the right, you're over here in the rough. You hit a great to the left, you're over here in the rough. A great to the left in the rough may roll you out, and you may end up being here. And you better hope that you brought a big dog. And your big dog red line is going to be somewhere out in here. Now you might be able to, with an overpower shot or a max hook, be able to get it to the other side, but you've just made your life very difficult by trying to take, you know, an inaccurate club, whether that be an extra mile or a big topper, and try to put it through the narrowest part on the entire hole on a second shot. Another thing that I see a lot of people do is they'll take their extra mile and they'll try and do a max overpower shot where their first bounce is right here in the narrowest part of this neck. So on a max overpower, your yellow ring is going to be pretty much the entire part of the fairway, and then your orange ring is going to be in the rough on either side. So if you hit a great to the left or the right, bam, you're in the rough. Now, from the trajectory here and the speed that you have, if you hit a great to the right, you may roll out and end up here in the fairway. If you hit a great to the left, you might get lucky, but more than likely you'll get caught up in the rough over here and you're sunk. Even from here, once again, you better bring a big dog. If you're anywhere on this side of that shadow, you better bring a big dog. And I see, and from people playing this hole, I see this shot right here where people are coming in with their extra mile and they're trying to do a max overpower shot hitting into the narrowest part of this fairway. This is probably the shot that I see the most. Now the shot that I do here is I bring an extra mile and a kingmaker. And I'm bringing the kingmaker for two reasons. Number one, I need the power to get me over to the other side. And number two, I need the curl or the side spin to help bring me back out into the fairway, because if you look where the tee box is at, you know, the tee box is here, and to get into that little fairway area, your ball guide's going like that. Now the last few times we've been here, I think the last time, and I think in the video that's in the playlist, the wind is going in this direction. So what I'm doing is my red line's right here. I'm trying to pull my, you know, if my red line is right, hold on, let me see if I can get my pin to work. My red line's right here. What I'm trying to do is pull my ball guide to the point where I'm at my red line with the dead part of my bullseye right here on the transition between the rough and the fairway. I'm trying to get as much distance as I can, and if the wind's blowing in this direction, what that's going to do is that's going to push me out into the fairway here. And so my landing area is going to be right out here, and I've got a really wide landing area here. I mean, I could hit a great to the left or the right and still be fine. If I hit a great to the left, it's going to help me, and if I hit a perfect, it's going to be fine. The only problem here is if I hit a great to the right, I take the risk of clipping the rough out way down in here. But you have a much better landing zone up here where you've got some area to work with, as opposed to here. You know, this landing area here is half, maybe even less of what you've got up here. So my goal here is to come at it with my extra mile, maximum top spin, maximum left hand side spin, maximum left hand curl, and to land the ball about halfway between this rough area and this rough area, and then have that ball come in this direction. Now I want to be, this is shadow number 1, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. I want to be somewhere between 2 and 3, and this little shadow that kicks off right here, I want to be right in this area. And I want to be right in that area over and over and over again. Now the reason that area right there, that is the beginning of a window. If I bring a sniper and I've got a 3-power ball, my red line for my sniper is going to be right about there, and I'm going to have this little teeny fairway area where I can now start my sniper off to the hole. I'm going to have just a little teeny bit of fairway that I can reach with my sniper, but I don't have to use any overpower. And from here, I can go right at the hole. Now, there's 2 ways to go at this green. If you're back over here, you're going to have to start off high and bring it down to the hole. And this green, you know, here's your flagpole. This is what the green looks like. So if you're starting up high up here trying to roll it to the hole, I mean, as it goes to the hole, it's engaging that hill, and it wants to fall to the right hard. And it's very difficult. It's not that you can't do it, but I mean, it's very difficult to try and get the ball to go in the hole, because not only do you have to account for wind when you're up high, you have to account for this drop in the green. So if you can start off on this side in this fairway area instead of having to hit over here, the deal here is you can start low enough that you can go right at the hole. You can stay low and try and avoid this hilltop up here. So you do have a much better shot of getting Albie. And this is definitely an Albieable hole if you put yourself in the right position. Now, it's not to say that you could come out here and that you could hit this shot and that you could get an Albie. But if you're trying to get Albie, if you're trying to make it so that if you hit a perfect shot going into the green, you got a serious look at Albie every time, where you want to be is out here in this area right here, coming at it with a sniper, using this lower little fairway area so that you can go right at the hole and you can avoid engaging the top of this hill. This is a very albatrossable hole. And it is absolutely a one shot at a time. If you don't get here, you're in trouble. Because, you know, you do not want to be out in the rough out here. If you're in the rough out in this area, you're sunk. Even doing some hero shot and doing a max overpower hook shot, it's very unlikely that you could get far enough out into this pad to make a difference. So it's definitely a one shot at a time. We want to land in this area, and then we want to go straight at the hole. And the reason I'm using a sniper on the other side is because it's got great ball guide. And it has just enough distance, if you can get out to that shadow, to open up that window. Now, if you've got lower developed clubs, you're probably going to have to bring a big dog. And you may have to hit from this side over here in order to get over, and your chances of albie are diminished, but there's going to be a lot of people that do not get eagle on this hole. This hole is going to eat a bunch of people's lunches. And so if you can come out here and you can get this shot done, even with a level 5, level 6 extra mile, you know, you can get out into this area and get over here. What the problem is with lower level extra miles is they don't have a lot of curl. So you're definitely going to have to bring a bigger ball. And when you set this shot up, you're definitely going to want to be as low as you can down here so that you have to engage less curl in order to get through this opening. But I am not a fan of trying to overpower to hit into this, because if you don't hit your drive perfect, you're in the rough. I mean, that's just how it works. All right, that was hole number 3. Hole number 4. And some of these holes, I'm still trying to remember how to do them. This is another one of those holes, if you watch my videos on a regular basis and I have, you know, going at these greens, I use backspin a lot, and this is definitely a hole for backspin, and here's why. Right here. You know, your normal landing area for this, if you were trying to run it up there, would be somewhere in this area. So you're on these little moguls. So here's the mogul. And you aimed for this spot right here. You aimed for the very top of that, and then you hit that. You hit perfect, everything's fine. Your ball goes in the direction that you want. And now there is a little bit of variance even when you hit perfect. I mean, it's not like you hit perfect and all of a sudden it goes in the hole. I mean, so there is a little bit of variance. But if you hit it over here, or you hit it over here, you missed it. You hit it great to the left or the right. It's not like you were on flat ground and you hit a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right and everything's still moving in that direction. You're now going off in this direction. Now you're going off in this direction. So these moguls over here can extremely affect your shot. And I am not interested in hitting my ball into an area with all those moguls. Anytime I'm on a hole that has moguls like this, I'm always looking for a flat spot. So we have several flat spots here. We have one here, we have one here, and we have one here. Well, we're on a par 3. My goal is to always go to the one that's the closest to the hole. It takes this sand trap out of play, takes this sand trap out of play, takes all this rough out of play. You hit to this one right here, now you put the sand back into play. You hit this one right here, you put all kinds of stuff into play. So I'm definitely going to try and move forward as far as I can. On my notes, I've got a Guardian and a Katana. And I'm not sure as far as red line goes, like where we were at. So like we may be able to use a Quasar, we may be able to use a Navigator, we may be able to use a Marlin. I'll have to go through and play these holes again just to find out where our red lines are at. My typical goal when I'm on a par 3 is I want to be either at max or minimum. So if I'm in my club and here's the minimum red line and here's the maximum red line, I either like to be where I'm right up against the max or I'm right up against the minimum, because your club's the most accurate right here. But these two numbers are really easy to work. You know, what's problem is when you're in between, like here's mid, and you're in between mid and max, or you're in between mid and minimum. You know, then you've got this little teeny minute adjustment that you have to continue to work out as the week goes on. You know, trying to standardize some of the stuff. So what ball to bring on this is going to be dependent on what clubs you have in your bag. All these par 3s are going to be dependent on where you pick. Like, where do you feel comfortable hitting? And what clubs do you have in your bag? So if you want to hit this with that club, you know, you want to hit it with your Backbone, or you want to hit it with your Saturn, or you want to hit it with your Guardian, or you want to hit it with whatever club you pick, then you need to pick that spot, and then you're going to want to pick a ball that's going to help you out, whether it's, you know, I'm hitting over here and now I'm hitting over into this area trying to get it over, and now I need more curl because the tee box is here, so you're off in this area. So if you pick this area right here, now you're going to need some kind of side spin and or curl to bring it back towards the hole. You're hitting back over here, you know, you're going to need some top spin in order to get it up there to do the deal. You want to hit right here, now you're going to need some backspin in order to stop it at the hole. So every spot that's out there is going to have some kind of challenge that it's going to require you to bring the right club. But no matter what, I would recommend that you try and do something that avoids these 4 moguls right here. Remember, on par 3s, our goal is birdie. If we get lucky and get a hole-in-one, high 5, everything's great, but the goal is to get a birdie. All right, hole number 5. And this is a tricky hole here. So when you're hitting down into this area, it carries a lot farther than you think it would. Now, I think in the video that I posted in there, I actually hit into the sand and I was able to make the sand shot. But the goal is to end up right in this area so that you've got this shot coming in. Now, if you look at the green, and this is kind of like the last hole, there's a lot of movement here. You can see there's some movement here and there's some movement here. You see those shadows. You can see this little trough right here. So this is going downhill, this is going downhill, and there's this little trough that's going right towards the green. My goal is to get out here at the right angle so that if you draw a line through that trough, you're somewhere in this area so that you're going straight through that trough, as opposed to having to, you know, if you had the trough like this and you're going straight at the hole, instead of, I don't want to hit on the side of the hill and then have to work it back towards the hole, because it's going to drop hard here at the top and then you're almost having to do the little S. And I'm trying to get into that flatter area right here to try and run the ball up to the hole. You can also hit over to here. If you've got, you know, depending on the clubs that you have in your bag, this may be the safest shot for you, is to hit over in here. If you bring a big enough ball on this, you can start off with an extra mile over on this side where your red line's going to be right there, and then you've got a little more control. It'll probably take, I think in the video I put on like one top spin. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. I was looking at my notes and I think my notes said one backspin and I misread it and I put on a top spin and ended up in the sand. But it doesn't take a lot, maybe 1, 2, you know, just depending on your club where you're hitting at up here, to get it to stop. But it does roll here more than it looks. So it'll look like, hey, I've got it stopped right here and everything's good, and it'll roll in the sand because it does carry a little bit farther here and it rolls more through this area, and it's very easy to end up in the sand. And so it's better to be short back here and still have that shot coming in than it is to have to hit through the sand. If you don't have bigger balls, you've got lower developed stuff, there's no problem with laying up over here and then coming at it. I'm not exactly sure what this shot over here will look like, but you've got several options. You could bounce it off of this island and then roll it up, but you're going to have some kind of a club with some topspin in order to get that done. Or you could start off on this side, and I don't know that it'll take a lot of backspin or anything in order to get it stopped at the hole. There's also a little trough, you know, a little bit of a trough going right in here, so you may have a good shot if you have to hit over in here. And there's no problem with that. You can also try and bounce it from here to get over, but I don't think that, you know, if you were here trying to bounce it over to this side to get up in here, I don't think that this shot, with the risk that you're taking right here trying to get over the river and trying to get all this stuff done right and then go through this very narrow portion of the fairway, I don't think that the end shot over here is necessarily worth the risk that you had to take to get there, when you can get over into this area very easily. Now if you're over in this area, there's a tree right here, so you've got to make sure that you get somewhere on this side of that tree so that you've got a clear shot at the green without having to do any curl to get around the tree. So when you're out there practicing, like if you really like the shot when you're out there practicing, it's always good when you go out there and go, hey, I'm going to decide I'm going to go to this side. Hit over here once so that you can at least see what it looks like, so you know what this looks like out there. All right, that was hole number 5. Let's go to hole number 6. Hole number 6. Trying to remember these holes here. Okay. My curiosity on this hole, and I've seen people come at this hole where they're coming at it from this direction. I typically come at it from this direction. My curiosity here is that I was trying, the last time we played this hole, your landing spot is, you know, you're getting out, you're starting off over here and you're coming through into this area, and it really doesn't matter what kind of, you know, like if you brought a bigger ball, and you don't really need to bring a bigger ball here, but your landing area, if you put a bunch of curl on it, if you curl to the right, you're going to end up in the sand. You curl to the left, you're going to end up in the sand, because your landing area is kind of like right there in the middle. So you don't have a lot of room to curl. My original thought was I really kind of wanted to land like right in that area. And the reason I wanted to land in that area is because if you draw the, you know, these trees are in play. So if you draw, you know, this is the clear shot to the green without having to do any curl. And so the farther you get up here, if you want to come at it from this direction, then you've got to bring the ball this way. And that you can do that easily with backspin, side spin, and curl. Because you can backspin the ball, the backspin's going to make the ball stop, and if you've got any kind of movement going in one direction or the other, the ball's going to take a pretty good jump in that direction. So if you're really wanting to go around it like this, you don't have to get all the way up in here. All you have to do is get by this shadow. But it's hard to get over here and like be like short like this without clipping through this rough, where you've got a little bit better shot going in it. So I think typically where you're going to end up landing is you're going to land somewhere out in this area, maybe a little bit more forward. The other way you could go is to try and get way up in that hole to open up this window right here so that you're coming at it like this. But when you're going through these trees right here, if you're having to put any curl on it in order to get it to come around, the more curl you put, the more you put that tree into play. So on this hole, I'm gonna try and get my shot right out into this area right here. I'm gonna use an extra mile, and I am gonna use a big ball. I'm gonna use a Kingmaker, and the reason I'm gonna use a Kingmaker is because on the second shot I need as much side spin as possible. I'm gonna come at it on the second shot with a Guardian, and my whole goal here is to get out far enough that I can start my Guardian off on this side. So if you're further back, the red line's gonna be somewhere, the red line's going to be somewhere in this area. So if you're on this side, you're going to have to bounce it from here to get it over. And that does give you some options with your club, just depending on what club you brought. So if you brought a sniper, you may, it may give you a really good look because the sniper's got really good ball guide. But this green's got a big hill on a big backboard. If you're over on this side right here and you've got this kind of distance, you can actually start off where your second shot is starting off in this little gap right here. So if you're going to do that, you're going to need a club over here that's got backspin. And the green looks like this. Here's the flag, and the green goes up like this. I mean, it's not quite that bad, but I mean, it goes up like this. So if you hit and roll up, it's going to roll back down to the hole. And it's very difficult on those kind of shots because, I mean, think of all of the stars that have to be aligned for you to hit that just right to get into the hole. If you came at it from this side right here, you might be able to stay lower so that you're engaging less of this hill and you're coming at it more like this. But that'll be, once again, it's going to be you going out there with your clubs, determining which way you want to go at it. But I think a lot of people, this is going to be, even though I don't really look at this par 5 as being a hole that has, that's a super high albatross hole. I think there's a lot of people that are going to play this hole that are going to end up failing. And if you can go out there and make sure that you get a 100% guaranteed eagle, there's going to be a pretty good percentage of people, maybe 20% of the people in your bracket, you're going to already be a shot up on them just because they couldn't get it done on this hole. And every hole that you can get it done that somebody else in your bracket doesn't is just that many more spots that you're going to move up the bracket. Hole number 7. All right, this par 4 right here. There are several ways to come at this par 4. One of the ways that you can come at it is you can come over into this area right here and you can try and maneuver it around. I'm not a big fan of this shot. But if you've got lower developed stuff and you don't feel comfortable doing the shot over here, coming out into this area and basically you're just laying it up right here. You're not trying to get over here. You're just laying it up. You can get over from here. You can try and get up into this area to try and get it up there in one. And so I'm sure that there's, if you got everything in the right line and you rolled your luck roll and everything worked out for you, you could end up here close. I've seen people try that, and I've seen more people end up in the trees and behind the trees, where they're in this area right here. If you get into this area right here where you are behind the trees and you tried that shot, and to try and get on can be difficult. If you practice max overpower hooks all the time, and one of my teammates, Mike D, the president of our clan, since I've met him, I've always worked on those max overpower hook shots, and the last time me and him played this hole, he got caught behind those trees, and I was thinking, oh dude, try that max overpower hook shot, and he did, and he ended up on. So you can get out from behind that, but the best way to do it is to not get behind those trees at all. Now, depending on how we get wind in the tournament, there is a window right here with a 3 power ball. where you can try and land in this area and end up right out here in front, and you're in your max wedge. Now, depending on what wedge you have, I've got a rapier, and so I can end up in my max wedge out there, which gives you a pretty decent shot at getting the ball in. But this shot right out here is a very tricky shot, and it does carry just a little bit farther because the way that the terrain is down here is it's like this, and then it kind of rolls off towards this rough area getting into the water. So there's a little bit of a roll off at the end. So if you overhit it just a little bit too much, it's going to carry too far and you will end up in the rough. So you don't have to do a ton of adjustment in here. And I think the last time we played here, the wind was going like this, and I think in the video the wind was blowing like this. We played this hole, I think, twice in tournaments. So as long as we have some forward moving wind, you can get out into this area, and your ball guide is going to be showing you going off, out that direction. So on the other side out here, it looks like your ball guide's going to clip this rough, but you have to remember that when you take the shot, you're going to be applying all of the curl that you have in your club. And if you take that arc, here it was doing it, but when you put that curl in, now you're out in this area and it'll roll off out in front of the green. I'm definitely going to be taking this shot right here. This shot right here gives me a very serious shot to pick up the eagle on this hole. So I definitely want to come out from this area. And this is you've got to have your wind adjustments right, and you've got to set the ball up correctly. You don't want to carry too far out here, so you got to make sure that you're making great adjustments when you're in that area. But I think that, me personally, I think that this is the best way for us to get over in order to get on. Now, there may be a shot here where you could do, and I've never practiced this shot, but looking at the angles, we're out in this area. There may be a shot here where you could come out with a max overpower shot, but the deal is, with these trees in the way, I don't think you're going to get on. I think your best bet is you're going to be out here in front where you'd be just doing the normal shot. All right, that was hole number 7. What it's going to take is some practice rounds, so we're just kind of going through it right now, and then when we start practicing in the tournament, we can start really dialing this stuff in. Now, this hole right here is a very dangerous par 3, but it's dangerous because when you're from the tee box, here's the flag, and here's the tee box. See how close you are right here in this area? See how close you are right there? So the typical, what you'll see a lot of people do is they're going to start off very close to this, trying to bring it up to the hole. And what happens is you have to get so close to this that you've got your ring set, and here's your yellow, and here's your orange, and here's your blue, is that you're going to find a lot of people are so close that they're between their yellow and their orange. They're only like maybe one ring, not even a full ring, away from that rough transition right here. And it's great if you hit a great to the left or a perfect, but if you hit a great to the right, you're caught up. And the other thing about this green is that from about here down, this green goes like this. And then here's the flagpole. So if you don't get all the way up that hill, it'll roll back down and you're going to end up out here in the fairway. And if you were already on this side, there's a good chance you may end up in this rough. So the last time we played this in a tournament, I decided that I wasn't going to mess around with this anymore. I'm done with it. You can set your shot up on these par 3s pretty much anywhere you want and just keep working it until you figure it out. So what I did was I used my Saturn and I put myself so that I was dead center in the center of this fairway. And that puts me, ball trajectory. See if I can get my pen to work here. That puts me going like in this direction in the holes over here. So I started off in the very center, and I'm using side spin and a little bit of backspin to get to the hole. And on this particular hole, I was doing a 30% wind adjustment. And I dialed that in. I never made the hole-in-one on it in the last tournament, but I was all over this hole. All over it. But by being out here in the center of the fairway, I eliminated my risk of getting caught up in this rough and just getting up here on this and getting a birdie and going home. But giving yourself a serious look at hole-in-one is really the goal. And what you don't want is to clip the rough down here and then have to hit that shot. It's not an easy chip on to go up that hill. It's a very difficult shot. You want to be pin high, and it does roll on the back side of this green. There's very little rough between the fringe, the rough, and the sand. So if you go past the hole with any speed, there's a good chance that you're going to end up in the sand. We want to be right there at the top. Hole number 9. All right. I truly believe that the greenskeepers look at this area over here and are just ticked off every time they come to this hole, because I've never seen anybody come over to here and be successful. Most of the time I see people over here and then they end up rolling into the rough, and then you're really not successful. And I've hit over here and been out in the fairway to see if I could get over these trees, and I couldn't clear the trees. Now you may be able to hit a max overpower shot and get caught up in the trees and roll out the other side, but that's not good. As my nephew says, that's no bueno. You can bring a big 4 power ball here with a big topper and try and get up on this pad right here, where you could engage the curl on a big topper and all of that topspin and try and get as far as you can out here, because if you're in the rough anywhere from here forward and you've got a Nirvana, you can get on. It's a pretty easy eagle. And I think that's what I shot in the video here, is I ended up in the rough right out here, and you can easily get on. It's not a big shot. If you're laying up here on this pad and you bring a big dog, your red line's going to be somewhere right in this area right here. And while a big dog does have a lot of topspin and does have a lot of curl and you can get around here, it's a pretty difficult shot. If you roll off into the rough here, you're in big trouble. So what I'm doing on this hole is a max overpower hook shot, where I've got I keep pushing the wrong button. It's because my thing moved. I've got my white ring about halfway. So here's the fairway. Here's the first cut of rough. Here's the second cut of rough. And here's the sand. I've got my white ring, the edge of my white ring, about halfway up this cut. And it's only going to take about 2 to maybe 3 topspin, depending on your club, and max right hand side spin, max right hand curl. Now if you've got a lower developed club, lower developed extra mile, let's say you got a level 6 and you don't have a lot of curl on that club, you might want to think about putting on all of the topspin. And what all of the topspin is going to do is you're going to get caught up in the rough on the other side. But instead of putting on 2 to 3 and getting caught up in the rough here, you put on max and you got caught up in the rough up here, and from up here with the Nirvana you can get on. Right? If you don't have a Nirvana, but you have an Amazon might work. It's not going to give you a very good ball guide, but you know, right here what we're looking for is distance to get up in the hole. But this is a very eagleable hole, and you're going to see a lot of people epic fail on it. But I'm not going to be a fan of laying up here. My whole goal is to try and get over to the other side. Now, if you brought a big power ball and a big topper, like I said, you probably could get over here, and you may have a pretty decent shot with all the curl that a big topper has to be able to get further up into this fairway area. I'm going to take my extra mile, start my white ring off, and this is going to be my starting spot, and it'll all be wind dependent. And I'm going to take the wind out. So as long as we have any forward moving wind, this shot's going to work out. If we have any headwind of any kind, even if it's side headwind, this shot's going to be a lot more difficult. But I definitely think that we can get the eagle on this pretty easy. So let's kind of go back and track our stuff here. This par 4 that's a birdie hole with an eagle opportunity. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3, 4 with an Albie opportunity. There's 5. There's 6. There's 7, 8, 9, with an eagle opportunity. 10, 11, 12. So what we need to be shooting is a minimum score is -12. Our minimum score should be -12, and we've got 3 serious shots of picking one up, not including, you know, like the par 3s. I never include, you know, I mean, par 3s, some par 3s are a lot more hole-in-oneable than others. But, you know, just looking at the ones that we have, there's 2 of the par 4s and 1 of the par 5s that we definitely have an opportunity, if we put ourselves in the right spot, to pick one up. So, you know, like doing the swing, you've got -12 to -15. If somebody was super on fire, they could get higher than that, but we're looking at somewhere between a 24, you know, everything, all the stars align, 30 on the weekend. Realistically, -24, -28. You shoot a -24, you're going to be probably in the weekend round, you're going to be in the top 15. Shoot a -28, you're giving yourself a serious shot for a win. Serious shot for a win. But some of these holes are so pick upable, the first 2 par 4s, that you're really going to have to pick up a couple shots. I think it's really going to take, you know, if you shoot a -28, there's some brackets you're still not going to win. But if you shoot that -28, you're giving yourself a really, really good shot at it. But there's a couple of them that you do need to pick up. All right, that was the kind of the walkthrough for the City of Lights. These are all the Parc de Paris, and like I said, I do have a playlist up for the City Lights tournament, and just watch the holes in this order, even though I've mixed in a couple of the Skyline Cup tournaments and stuff, but these are the holes that we're looking at. All right, I will post some practice rounds on Monday. Hopefully everybody has a great tournament, and if I catch some of these holes in one-on-one play, I will post some individual videos as I catch some of the holes, especially if we're on some of these holes we're doing some really trick shots on, and keep you guys posted. All right, I'll see you on Monday. Thanks for watching.